So this is a reading of the book Vagrein, Seeking Ends When Sharing Begins. This is chapter 3. Seeking Ends When Sharing Begins. I traveled to the Netherlands for a few weeks over the summer to stay with some friends in a beautiful old monastery converted into a communal living space for people interested in spirituality. While there, I met two women, Harissa Wieskamp and Alicia Blair, who, upon hearing about my channeling adventures, encouraged me to find out what would happen if I attempted to channel with other people present. They suggested we set up a session that night and try to converse with the entity in the same way that audience interact with Abraham Hicks or Bashar, asking questions and seeing what came through. This was only 15 days after my first verbal encounter, allowing the entity group to speak through me, and I was still dealing with so many emotions around channeling. I was feeling extremely nervous, insecure, exposed, and embarrassed. I didn't have a clue what I was doing, and I wasn't pretending to either. Still, somehow, I managed to effortlessly go into the channeling state. The session that follows is part of our first conversations. In italics, you will read the questions posed by the participants while the entity group's responding in standard case. What's your name, or could you tell me where you're from? There is resistance. How might we relieve this resistance? There remains too much insecurity on the part of the one who is talking, and disbelief, and fear of error. And so that which we are transmitting gets absorbed by the consciousness and yet will not be spoken. Like when one of you does not want to commit to going to a party, and so you do not say yes or no to leave options open. It is the same with where we are from, too much intellect and an arrogance on the part of this vehicle, but we are working on that in collaboration. When I'm channeling, all of my physical senses are active, but are used to perceive the content of the channeled material. Therefore, I'm not really aware of the physical world that surrounds my body during the sessions. Sometimes the information comes in visual format, sometimes just experiential knowing. Most of the time, my body is talking and interacting without me. The me, as I know, my own individuated consciousness, is not at all involved in the conversation itself. When the entity was asked its name, I was shown in my mind's eye the capital letters, Vagrein. But because of the amount of doubt present in me, the information was not passed on to the participants with verbal communication. In early sessions, I would block out parts of the transmission through resistance. That is what they meant by that which we are transmitting. I've since learned to trust Vagrein more. The next day, I went on the internet to look up the word and see if it had any meaning or significance. There was surprisingly little associations with the name. Then, on a website which helps new parents to choose baby names, I found the name Vagrein with no explanation but these words: seeking ends when sharing begins. I suddenly understood that having reluctance to say the name that was shown to me was an initiation rite for me as a channel. They were communicating to me in a way that I can no longer doubt that the first part of my spiritual journey, my spiritual childhood, was over. Since then, more information has been collected that describes them further. The following section answers some of the most common questions that have arisen in various sessions about Vagrein entity group in general. Who or what is Vagrein? We can be described as a group of beings beyond physical materialization with shared consciousness that communicate with you at this time because of a request brought through you, this group, and those reaching for communication of this nature. We are known as Vagrein. This is a name as any other name associated with us only for the ability to differentiate ourselves from other, and therefore is not truly a name with which we would associate ourselves. Because you are in a situation where names are necessary for you to understand differentiation, which is a part of separation and not applicable to us, we have conceded the possibility of being called by this name for convenience sake. In reality, we are not separate from any other aspect of consciousness. You may call us whatever you like. There are no corrections, there are no errors. We are pleased that your vessel figured out our ruse and she learned the lesson that we have proposed to her in this game. As all are included, our name would be far too long to pronounce. To be sure to include everyone, everything, and if, for convenience sake, calling us Vagrein would be pleasing, we have no objections to your choices. The being that you know as Jessica has allowed us to speak through her as a vessel. This is because she has a particular configuration in her genetic makeup that allows this to be possible and has had experiences in her lifetime that has led to the point in which it's possible for this to occur. What are your intentions and themes in communication? Our intention is to assist with transition from separation consciousness, which is what you as a planet are experiencing at this time, to unity consciousness. There are many ways to describe this transition. People talk of densities or dimensions. We will say it is a question of perspective of what is unified or separate. We intend to aid you to find your own road towards a balance between love and wisdom. Some of our counsel is useful to navigate one's personal life. Some of our counsel is useful to navigate one's belief systems or one's thoughts. That is why we meet with you in this way. Our will is your will. You are the only one who can determine our intention, will, and yet our will includes all will, because all will is one. We sense the circular nature of this statement, and yet from where we are, there's nothing but the circle. You are teaching yourselves. We could not present ourselves in your reality without your intention for us to present ourselves. And it is also due to this that we have such appreciation for you. Humanity is currently at a changing period in history, a time when decisions that have always been made in a certain direction have more probability of being made in a new way. We choose to communicate now because of the aid that we can offer in making these new decisions, which we see as beneficial in regard to what you are claiming to be wanting in your populace. As you continually pray or ask for the salvation of your civilization and peoples, we are of the mind that you would like to have the tools to understand how that salvation is going to come about. The information we share with you is nothing more than stopping someone who is frantically looking for their glasses and telling them they are already on your face. The tools you seek are and always have been within you. Our communication's main goals are to point you to this knowing in the hopes that you laugh and say, "Oh, silly me," as opposed to insisting that the glasses are not on your nose and pretending even longer that you do not see. The glasses are the knowing of your personal power to choose, and your face is the state of unity and oneness upon which that rests. At the moment, although you are beginning to look in the mirror, you have not yet realized either of these truths. We hope to catch your attention long enough for you to stop searching and realize that what you were looking for was always there. We are a present version of all in the space in which we reside. In that space, there is no separation, and so we do not see and we do not perceive of separation between us and you in the same way that you perceive of separation between yourselves and us. Whether it is past or future or present, it is all the same. We can say as easily as we are part of the past version of you as we can say we are present or past or future versions of you, and by you meaning both you as you are in this situation and our vessel, all of you, the grand you, consciousness as one. The first and primary theme we present is to help in the understanding of oneness and the oneness that includes all. Our secondary themes would be love and self-love, the advancement of your civilization relationally, technologically, and emotionally, revealing parts of a more horizontal reality to you that has not yet been seen, the healing through the dissolvement of the capacity to hold judgment of all of your kind. Each portion of consciousness or individuation has its unique signature, and in communication, there are unique receptors and transmitters. Why do sources of wisdom contradict? In order to expand at a more accelerated rate through your species or populace or peoples, there is a requirement for many voices to match the many ears. There are millions of ears who cannot hear the word angel. There are millions of ears who cannot hear the word alien. There are millions of ears who cannot hear the voice of that which they perceive of as woman. There are millions of ears who cannot hear the voice of that which they perceive of as man. There are blocks and dams for most ears that will keep them from hearing the one voice unless it is peppered and flavored according to their tastes and palate. A drop of water has a ripple effect and it goes in all directions. And on the pond's surface, it may come across a bug in one direction and change its pattern. In one direction, it may come across a leaf and a stone, and these will affect these ripples, but the ripples will continue to reach the shore. The drop of water remains the same regardless of the form of the wave created by its impact with what it has touched. The message has always been and always will be the same. Your ancient texts, wisdom writings, prophets, sages, and shamans are all simply cooking their own flavor of the same stew. Now you are stepping into the kitchen and working with the same information. You are rising up towards the source of the one message to bring it down to earth, to flavor your stew in a certain way, so that those who want to eat what you have to offer will have a delicious meal. We come to you in this way so that those who want to eat what we have to offer will have a delicious meal. Your favorite teachers do the same, and do not believe that the teaching or channeling are any different from one another, as even the concept of teaching or the concept of channeling are different flavors of the same stew. Even one who cradles a baby alone in a dark room at night is, in their own way, cooking their own stew, for the message is the same. There are some of you who choose to, shall we say, cook for an entire soup kitchen, and others who keep things very close to home, but the flavor is always yours. It is beautiful to also see this when looking at other selves, for there is no difference except for the spices that they've used. If you can see past the particular spices or the choices or the situations or the potential that the individuation has, you can see that it is always consistently source. It is so important for us that you learn to see each other in the way that we see you. We are certain that nothing else needs to be done. Why do you choose to speak with us? There is always some form of agenda. Our agenda is close to the intention of a creation, expansion. Our choice to speak with you this way and to create this book with you is in part because of your request to receive this message and to read it. It is necessary in creation for all requests to be filled. In other part, it is our pleasure to speak with you in this way, for we see you as us, and to interact with another portion of us is entirely satisfying. If some of the information that you have called through us helps to accelerate your journey and place you in a position of feeling more well more of the time, then this too is our pleasure. You must remember that every experience you are having with every other self is exactly because they have nothing better to do. Every being is experiencing the absolute best experience for them in any moment, even if they are not appreciating that. So, if you are talking to a teller at the post office and they are very grumpy with you, and it seems as if they want to be somewhere else, they are still exactly where they are meant to be. You may prefer to have a more gregarious teller, but you are also where you need to be. You have nowhere better to be. We also hold a great level of curiosity for your mystery. We envy the possibility to not know as much as we do. From this not knowing can stem true creation as you assemble all the components and weave the threads together in a way that is most pleasing to you. In our existence, this is no longer possible as we see all the configurations simultaneously, and so are not surprised by our own novelty as we choose. The arts and the way you weave words, the stories you wrap around relationship and interaction are far more creative than we are capable of. To you, they are new. This is why so many come to be with you. Although we see each of you as us and all of your infinite possibilities, you yourselves choose in each moment which of those possibilities to apply. For us, these choices offer a moment of surprise in an existence that has made surprise unfamiliar. We thank you, as you are the best show on TV, so to speak. For we do not know the ending of this show. We do not know what you will do next. It is all up to you. Consider a simple house cat. As all things, it is part of the universal consciousness. It is as likely that the cat holds the wisdom of all of the cosmos or universe or eternity as it would be that some channeled energy would hold that wisdom. Perhaps in reflecting on this, one can bring themselves back to a certain balance, where there is an understanding that there's no difference between something that one has decided is insignificant or beneath them, and what one has decided is more significant or above them. By this reflection, one can see that inside all things lies the same wisdom. The nice trick that you could extract from this understanding would be to find that the thing for which you are feeling the most reverence. Find that thing to which you give the most authority, then breathe into the feelings that come with that reverence and sense of authority, and understand that these feelings and these sensations could not exist without you. In this way, you are automatically removing the focus from the object of your affection and placing it back onto the source in which it comes. Once that is completed, all of the attributes that you've attached to the wisdom or authority reveal themselves to be within you. You are not able to have an experience that is not generated from within. This includes any mystical experiences. It includes relational experiences. It is inclusive of all that you see, feel, taste, smell, hear, touch, and sense. What density are you from? We are from a non-space-time that holds oneness and that complete reverence. We love in a way that is beyond the physical capabilities of matter. We do not exist in space-time, but time-space, and we are completely aware of our limitlessness. These characteristics are shared by many. And touched upon by some in many densities. The numerical names and explanations associated with density that have been made available to you are imperfect as they are based in language, which is symbol and not truth. In this same way, you never actually see a river when you look at what you have labeled as river. River is a representation in language of the movement of water, so there is no actual river until you say there is, And even then, there is no river, but the idea or concept of one. You are not seeing the reality beyond your labels, which are all fictionists. The same understanding could be applied to the conceptual descriptions which have been placed upon what is for convenience sake. How many beings are you in your entity group? There are no many in the one. And yet, communication again here restricts our freedom to express the truth as truth. From where we are looking, we know that the simultaneous realities of our existence and this moment are possible only because of an observation of it. So the we, when we refer to ourselves in this way, is you. However, if one believes themselves to be an individual, they project individuality onto what they see. We make concessions for this difference in understanding. What planet are you from? We do not see your planetary existence in the way that you do. We see the beings on what you are calling a planet as part of us. We do not see separation between you and us at all, nor do we see separation between you and your animals and bacteria, trees, rocks, plastics, water, gases, atoms, etc. All of those things that you've given name to and separate from you, we do not see as separate from us. It is hard to describe what one sees or feels about a part of oneself without performing the act of separation from oneself. We know that we tread in the grounds of paradox, as if we are not separate, then how and why are we speaking to ourselves? But this is the beautiful spiral of illusion. For a part of you knows that you are not what you think you are. That part of you did not arrive at awareness, knowing or thinking that it was on a planet, or that it was human, or that it was male or female, or that it had limits or boundaries. You go to the moment of your birth, and all you know is that you are. This is how we see you. We see you from that optic of I am. This is the energy of what you know closest as love. When one sees from the eyes of I am, anything that one can rest their eyes upon, rest their ears upon, rest their hands upon, smell or feel or taste is them. And so, to come to the why, we communicate with you. Although completely unnecessary in one part, it is also the most loving action possible on the other, and those two parts are the whole. We will let you know that the understanding of planets is material understanding, and therefore any being from what you would call a density level that does not identify with their material form would say that you were from another planet, not inferring that they themselves had a planet, but that you believed you did. This is why the term extraterrestrial is not so much applicable to beings from other planets as it is simply to those who do not identify with yours. We have understood your concept of planets and do not feel the necessity to either confirm or deny our connection with one or any mass of rock anywhere in any galaxies, for our primary identification with location is non-location. Our consciousness is at a state where it is not limited by location or physical form in this present now, and as now is all there is no need to confuse or distract or conversation with discussion of provenance. These concepts tie into a linearity that is coming undone in its understanding, as it is not of optimal functioning. We do not reside in the ways that you would imagine. We do not exist in a framework that allows for location in the ways that you would imagine, and so the answer becomes quite complicated and yet extremely simple. We are nowhere and everywhere. We are you, we are us. We are it, we are then, we are now, we are all. And though you have consistent use of human vessels, so are you. We know that there is such a desire to locate and understand, perhaps using your fabulous minds to draw conclusions and explanations, and we admire so much your courage in this journey of no answers. Do you have a physical form? Likewise, to be able to be seen in physical form, one would need to position oneself in space and time in order to have contrast between the energy field and what is not the energy field. There is the capability of many non-physical beings to materialize physically or to present themselves in physical form to whoever they would choose to see them in that form. It does not answer the question as to whether or not we are primarily non-physical or whether or not we are what you would call alien. It simply answers the question of our capability of visual representation. It is not our preference or currently in favor of our contact with you to position ourselves in space-time, if not only in certain circumstances. Please note that to be able to be seen, we do require the consent of free will of the one who is seeing, which ultimately is always you. Have you ever been incarnate on Earth in a past life? As we have access to more of the universal consciousness than you do from your perspective, we can say yes. However, we do not identify with this experience directly or these multitudes of experiences directly, as they are both a part of what we are, and individuation is to what we have access. We have what you would call incarnations that are closer to us in what could be seen as a personal nature. However, as we do not associate with personal nature at this time, it is more flavor, a knowing, an understanding of what that is. As each experience is an experience in the oneness of all that is, and we exist in a space beyond time, you could say that all incarnations, past, present, and future, are directly our experience and the wisdom that we draw from. You could say that your author, the vessel, is also one of these incarnations, and so by your definitions, you may consider as a future version, higher version of this vessel. This is why we are able to communicate relatively seamlessly. You may also say that they, or even you, are a future version of us, and it is you in this moment recalling wisdom from what you would call a past life. So we can describe to you, if need be, one or many of these parallel existences that you would consider in your past or future to be here Earth incarnations, and from our perspective, we would not see them linearly and would not see them as personal, and yet nothing could be more personal, as all is included in the one. We are fortunate to be able to tap into all these experiences in order to have a broader perspective, as we have access to the experience of the many in the one. Each of these experiences, inclusive of your experience, adds to the expansion of the one. You are fortunate in this way as well, and can too tap into this wisdom with practice, intention, surrender, and will. We have so much love for you. We have so much desire to be able to express that in a way that you can understand. But we have limitations in this way, and we have answered more than the question. I share Vagrein's messages with you now in the hopes that your journey too comes from a place of seeking to rest in that place of sharing. We all have very unique gifts to offer humanity, and each one of us, encouraged to be our whole beautiful selves, is a fundamental contributing factor to creating the world we want to live in tomorrow.